And before everybody says, yeah, that just shows you how bad the German Bundesliga is. No, that just shows you how good Harry Kane is. This just shows you how good Bayern Munich is. As it shows when Erling Haaland scores a hat-trick in the Premier League, that doesn't mean that the Premier League is bad, or that means that Erling Haaland is good, Manchester City are good.
Hi and welcome to the Fussball channel. I'm your host, Markus Fjørtoft, and as always joined by Jan Fjørtoft for this review of round 14 of the Bundesliga as we get close to the Christmas break. But Dad, I see you fully equipped in a little training gear. Is it a comeback I'm seeing on the cards?
Yes, it's a comeback, actually. I had one session this morning. I'm going to have one session later tonight.
Double session?
Yeah, double session, because I think there is a chance that I can get the fourth position in the Norwegian squad for the World Cup. We have Haaland, Sørloth, Strand Larsen. I reckon they are quite secure to get that fixed place, but Ståle Solbakken, my former teammate in the national team, he needs a fourth striker.
What would you contribute with, you think? Is it more so from a social, moral standpoint?
Very important role, because I think if you bring fourth striker, I mean the fourth striker won't be needed a lot. I can end up going to the World Cup without getting any minutes, and I think then you have to be good social strategy, communication. You have to get the people going. But I know that I have a job to do. But the good news for me is that it's 7 months before the World Cup actually starts. So I started. I had a bit with the ball this morning, and I think I will be. I have to say, I'm not sure if I get minutes. I'm quite hopeful that I can make a squad. But if I should get on the pitch, I could be the oldest player ever played in a World Cup. The record now is Egyptian in the Russian World Cup, 45 years of age. So I will beat him. So I have to train.
I'm already thinking from a media perspective. I think even if you. Obviously, you wouldn't have made it, but it's just in terms of covering the comeback, I think it would make for a very good special series on the Fussball channel.
I think I rode to World Cup will be the most exciting thing here. But what a good thing about it is that I am qualified because I got a Norwegian passport. I have played football. If I see that after 2-3 months this is going quite well, I have to, of course, register at the club, because at the moment I think I am registered in my home club, Gursken, and I think that is a bit too low. So I have to be. But I've already spoken with some of my former clubs, so I don't think that should be a big problem.
So there is a chance.
They tell me there is a chance. So absolutely, 1 to a million, but it's still a chance.
Exactly.
I was get that bridge now.
I was just wondering if we go straight into the Bundesliga or go anything else.
I think that's the only way we can go.
Yeah, let's go into it. It was just no bridge, because I just have in front of me Mainz appoint Urs Fischer. Mainz, obviously, their worst start to a Bundesliga season. I think we all can agree that Bo Henriksen was a likable character. They had the Bo Svensson before that as well, but it came to the point of inevitability. It seemed like Bo Henriksen felt lost and demoralized by the current situation. And then in you bring Urs Fischer, Dad, the Union Berlin legend, the one who took them from the Zweite Bundesliga all the way to the Champions League. On paper, it seems like the right and necessary appointment.
Well, on the paper, it looks like a typical German appointment, because you had Sandro Wagner getting fired in Augsburg. What do? They go to a former Augsburg coach, and is also well-known coach Baum. He came back, and congratulations to him in the first game back after Sandro Wagner is gone. They're winning 2-0 against the Leverkusen, although Leverkusen hit the woodwork multiple times, but still, it's still a win. So what will Mainz do is Christian Heidel, who's been there for ages, a great leader in German football. I've been appointing Thomas Tuchel and Jürgen Klopp. It's not so bad, the worst thing you can have on your track record. And they get in Urs Fischer, who knows the German Bundesliga, and as you were saying, did wonders at Union Berlin. So I think the thing is when you appoint a coach middle of the season, you have to go safe. That is not risky because now you have to make sure that you just get the points in before Christmas, of course, because then you feel that's the big difference between English football and German football, because you have this break which is challenging as well, because if you go into the break on a negative kind of flow, I mean, that winter break is long, very long. If you're in a positive thing, you can but you can restart with a new coach. So I think there's the timings wise now for Mainz is good. This team is too good to go down, but we know there is always a team that is too good to go down that goes down. So I think this is a sensible, kind of safe, kind of typical German Bundesliga appointment.
And it's funny because Bo Henriksen took over and Mainz were doing terribly, and then he led them to Europe and to the Conference League, where they've done very well. And it's the same now. It's it's full circle in a way, in which now Bo Henriksen is on that other side, and it's Urs Fischer's job to turn it around. But yes, Mainz have been in these terrible states not long ago, which is worth remembering when looking at Mainz's team, and they lost as well at home to Gladbach. Gladbach bouncing back after their cup loss, and Gladbach continuing their good domestic league form. That we have to address something, and it's we have to look at it as, I guess, as objective as we can, but it's hard not to. But Eintracht Frankfurt now 6-0 against RB Leipzig, and don't get me wrong, RB Leipzig's home form is tremendous. They've won all their games at home. They only conceded 3 goals. And credit to RB Leipzig, it was only the second or third time that Eintracht haven't scored this season. We know how high scoring Eintracht are, but defensively Eintracht have been a liability. Their domestic form had bettered themselves. They hadn't lost in 5 games, but you're playing a fellow Champions League contender 6-0. How do we make sense of this situation?
Well, we can make sense, but we can make a kind of analysis based on trends. I mean, Eintracht Frankfurt have now conceded the most goals in the Bundesliga. Heidenheim got 1 less, Augsburg less. So this is a bad trend, because you can't do that, because at some point the players will think, here we go again. And mind you, the next game is Barcelona away, who always love to concede goals. But what we know with the likes of Rafinha, with Lewandowski and what have you, of players that can score goals. So this is a terrible trend. We'll just hope that they can put down a performance as they did in Napoli when they manage a clean sheet. That is one thing. The other thing is that Eintracht Frankfurt is 2 points away from a Champions League place in the Bundesliga, but it's very tight in the division. But the problem now for Eintracht Frankfurt is the trend. And yes, you had the stats there that they hadn't lost in 5 games, but it's more that what I read between the lines is that when they come, and this is a matter of the coach, it's a matter of players, it's a matter of the club, it's everything in one, but we all know in that chain which is the weakest part. And there's always a coach, because he is the responsible for that. And we had a couple of games, Heidenheim, Wolfsburg, where they didn't lose, but they didn't look like winning. And I think that is the second trend what you can see of Eintracht. So Eintracht need to turn around this quite quickly, because a trend often, if you do the wrong thing, quote, if you do the wrong thing on a longer term, that will add problems. Because if you concede a lot of goals, as Eintracht are doing at the moment, at the end, that won't be successful. You have to tighten up. Then they had a period that did that, and then maybe they went too far, not risking. And I understand that if you conceded in the Champions League as they did against Atletico Madrid, against Liverpool, 3-0 at home against Atalanta. I mean, that is 13 goals already there. Then I understand that Dino Topmüller wants to tighten up a bit. The problem is for any coach in the world is if you tighten up, maybe you lose what's the big strength. I'm not saying Arsenal is that, Marcus, but we've discussed that before. When Arsenal is so concentrated on set pieces, can you then manage to keep up what is the strength of the club going forward? Intensity, great counter-attacks over Saka, over Eze, over any player at that team. So I think that is I think if I may use a word without making too much of the headline, I think that Eintracht Frankfurt just right now, points-wise, not bad, but they're on a kind of identity crisis. Who are we? And who have we become? More, because Eintracht Frankfurt never had a problem under Dino Topmøller to concede many goals. They look good at the back. Remember the time when we were struggling before Dino Topmøller. We had some issues with the defense and there were individual mistakes. But if you game after game concede so many goals, there is something wrong. There is something wrong in the way. I'm not in the training. I can't see. They will probably work very, very hard on this. But you know, Marcus, you're a former defender. If you're going around thinking we can't concede, it's a sort of jinxing. And I think when you got the 2-0 or you got a 3-0, then you think, like I started, here we go again. And so it's worrying time now. They have before the Christmas now, but the Champions League game this week against Barcelona, you don't need another 5 at the back. You need I was alluding to. You need a Napoli performance. The problem is then, Marcus, I've just to underline it. So you do that, you go there to get a point at Barcelona, which is in isolation is good. But how much will that cost you what Frankfurt was so good at in the beginning of the season with Özil, with Götze, with Larsson, with Burkhardt now out, of course, but still, this is a tough challenge for Dino Topmøller.
It is, and I mean, Frankfurt have one of the youngest squads in the league, right? And starting lineups, and so there is that degree of inconsistency that you might expect of our younger players. But what is interesting, and obviously defensively, that is a wider structural approach from a team. But you look at the likes of a Robin Koch, you look at Setter, who's in goal, Christians, etc. And not to attribute blame to them, but someone like Robin Koch hasn't performed as you'd expect, as to the levels that Eintracht have been used to him. There's a reason he was named captain, but you have then a fairly experienced back line as well, which makes it all the more puzzling because, yes, you have the younger team, but you have a more experienced back line, etc. And so somewhere in between there's something that can't be quite right in a way. And that's what I find puzzling about Eintracht. Of course, the double load of Champions League football and the Bundesliga as well, and performing equally high on both ends is also demanding. We have to remember where Eintracht Frankfurt was. I mean, going back to when you played that and the numerous relegation battles they found themselves in, they built themselves up to a standard that which they could only dream of, or at least aspire towards. And so there's a putting into the wider context and also seeing within the last few years and what we expect from Eintracht. And right now, a 6-0 loss to RB Leipzig is not what you want. And just on the RB Leipzig note as well, looking at some of the younger players that they have in their ranks, they have a young team, but only domestic football to focus on. Jan Diomande scored a hat-trick, 19 years old. He's going to play against Germany for the Ivory Coast in the World Cup. But Jan Diomande, Nusa, Baumgartner now finding himself with a very central role for RB Leipzig. Conor Harder, their new signing, he scored their first goal and his first goal for the club as well. So RB Leipzig, another young team with a lot of exciting profiles that is worth looking towards. Should we move on?
Interesting, Marcus, is that there's a German word for everybody to listen to, Doppelbelastung. You play 2 games, you play in Europe, and it's quite interesting point now because RB Leipzig is not in Europe. And they have time on the training pitch, they have time. Having said that, it's all about getting into Europe, and that is a part of the game. You can't rest players to get into Champions League next year and then next season and then rest them in the season. But of course, that is a part of it, and it's quite interesting. But down to RB Leipzig is very impressive. That is 6 wins in 6 home games. They're on fire at the moment. Now, the cup draw, by the way, in Germany is no seeding. It's just the first team out and second team out. So it's Bayern against RB Leipzig, maybe the 2 best teams, no disrespect to Dortmund, in Germany right now. Interesting.
Yes, and just in the other cup draws, we might as well just say it, but Hertha play Freiburg, Holstein Kiel play Stuttgart, and Bayer Leverkusen play St. Pauli. But all eyes will be drawn towards that Bayern Munich RB Leipzig tie in February, and they will play each other in January in the second half of the season as well. Dortmund beat Hoffenheim, 2-0. Brandt and Schlotterbeck. Brandt scores in his 200th Bundesliga appearance. Schlotterbeck as captain adds the second. Dortmund extend their unbeaten run in the Bundesliga to 6, while Hoffenheim's 6-match unbeaten run comes to an end. Not the most spectacular of games, but Dortmund did what needed to be done. Around the other Champions League spots, Leverkusen lose to Augsburg, and you briefly mentioned in the beginning there, but under Baum, under their temporary manager, they were going to reassess after 3 games. Let us see. But he wins in his first match, and despite Leverkusen having their chances, they lose and they're winless without Grimaldo starting, which would be a worry for Leverkusen when they take on Newcastle in the Champions League as well. But surprising loss for Leverkusen there.
Absolutely, and we're going to talk about in a special episode of the preparations for the Champions League, Leverkusen, Newcastle, one of the great game. Yeah, it's interesting too, because Augsburg, with the new coach Baum, I got a feeling that that win alone will make him not more temporary and be the fixed starter. But it's tough, and if I may do the bridge to Bayern straight away, because so Bayern is playing Stuttgart away. I mean, if you have hopes, if you have Leipzig, Dortmund, or Leverkusen, or whoever, then you think maybe Sebastian Hoeneß, great players, good organized, reigning cup winner. This is the game that maybe they can get a draw at least, so we get a bit closer, And Kane on the bench, wow, this is hope. And then ending up the top game, the top spiel, they win 5-0 away from home. Kane coming as a sub, I think in the 60th minute, and some minutes later, 27 minutes later, if I'm right, so around there, he has scored a hat trick. He take home the match ball. So this guy is just sitting there, and before everybody says, "Yeah, that just shows you how bad the German Bundesliga is." No, that just shows you how good Harry Kane is. This just shows you how good Bayern Munich is, as it shows when Erling Haaland scores a hat-trick in the Premier League. That doesn't mean that the Premier League is bad, or that means that Erling Haaland is good, Manchester City are good. So unbelievable. And Olise, Marcus, this is the first time we speak on the podcast since we got the draw for the World Cup. Norway is playing France. This is the top team in our group. Senegal as well. And then we have to see Bolivia, Iraq, and Suriname. Favorite being Bolivia. But the France game is the third game. And hopefully France have done their job, because when you see an Olise, the form he's in at the moment, unbelievable. He's just sliding over the pitch. I mean, he's unbelievable. And the players in and around Harry Kane, fantastic. And mind you, 2 of the best players, Davies, Musiala, they haven't played all season. So that just shows you, if you're going to do a favor now, Marcus, and I know you've got your Arsenal heart on as always, and Arsenal were a better team than Bayern, but Bayern, wow, got to be up there as the big challenges to win the big prize. They will probably win the 2 prizes in Germany, but also right now, if you're going to do your bet now, you will put Bayern very, very high up there.
And it was a seldom rest for Harry Kane as well, because of how seriously they take each tournament, rightfully so. But Bayern haven't won the domestic cup since the 2019-2020 season either. So Harry Kane gets a celebrate, and then he comes off the bench and scores that trick. It's 17 league goals for the season. Question marks around Bayern's squad depth going into this season, especially with Davies and Musiala. But now you're getting close to completing the first half of the season without Musiala, without Davies, and done so in such incredible historical fashion. And so that's what makes it very exciting to get those two players in the mix. They're two clear starters, two of Bayern's key players. Going forward, we have Köln played Pauli. Pauli end their 9-match losing streak. They equalized in the 94th minute. Ricky Jade Jones, the Englishman, scores in the 94th minute. Said El Mala, who we discussed in the pod, Dad, and will be a wish candidate for any big clubs. He's now on 6 league goals. He's a Bundesliga's top scoring teenager. Köln, by all means, deserved to win that game, but St. Pauli, after that strong win in the cup against Gladbach and their losing streak, we have the Nordderby, Dad, Hamburg against Bremen. And we had the ex-Arsenal player Lokonga scored for Hamburg. The Tottenham defender on loan, Vuskovic, with a backheel goal that is worth looking up alone. I mean, an incredible heel flick, strike, call it what you may. And Hamburg beat Bremen in the derby. Paulsen as well scores his first goal for the club. Wolfsburg and their 14-match winless home run in the Bundesliga against Union Berlin. And Heidenheim turn it around against Freiburg. And we kind of deemed Heidenheim done and dusted in the Bundesliga. But now 2 wins on the trot, I believe. Freiburg's away form remains poor, 1 win in 6. But Heidenheim, credit to them, another late winner through Schimmer, and they beat Freiburg 2-1. And I think that is us having gone through all the main games.
Yeah, I trust you on that. Only for Heidenheim, if you compare them with Mainz, you don't underestimate that kind of thing that everybody think you go down. So every game, you say a cliche, is every game is a cup game. That is more at the end of the season. But I mean, Heidenheim will look back now to take this hope to get into they're around there now, and Mainz with the team they're having, they're not supposed to be down there. That do something with the coach's mind on the players' minds. And great win for them. Give them a bit hope and hope for the others to kind of think, well, we have having Heidenheim behind us. What's the second team we need to get behind us? And now they just drag it into this. But going into the this is in Germany the Hinrunde, that is the first part of the season, 17 games. Then you have the Rückrunde that is fängt an. They start this right after New Year. And then you have another 17 games. But the Bayern is enormous. I mean, Bayern is up there, but all the rest of the team, there's quite interesting with Champions League, UEFA Cup, which is now called something else, Europa League and Conference League. You have the Cup coming on, and then you got a relegation battle that I, of course, know good from Germany. But a great round, and again, we'll conclude Bayern unbelievable. Very sad for us because we are biased and we admit that to Eintracht Frankfurt. But all credit to RB Leipzig winning again. Before I die now, after my old training, I think we say Auf Wiedersehen.
Auf Wiedersehen. And for those who are with us at the very end, there will be a Champions League preview as well with the German team. So stay tuned and we will see you there.